Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for the second episode of Thursday Night Lights, brought to you by the Patio in downtown Wellston. Here to my right, Nathan Molihan. As always, to my left, Jordan Lackey. We're going to switch up the order just a little bit this evening. Of course, we'll do our regular game recap. We'll recap the league later on. We have some special guests with us here tonight. Shad Wonders, who is the 3rd and 4th grade Wellston Pee Wee coach, and Joel Eisnagel, who's an assistant coach for the 5th and 6th grade. They're just a couple of the representatives. There's several more coaches, and we'll talk about them here in just a little bit. But guys, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem.
So this is the first year of a new program. What's been the biggest challenge to this point?
I've got a lot of first-year players, so just a lot of basics and a lot of kids that just aren't used to the violent nature of football. So I would say that's my biggest challenge is teach it, because you go from baseball and basketball to a sport where you're asking them to smash into each other. So that's been my biggest challenge is just getting them used to the aggressiveness of football. But as far as being the new organization, there's several ladies involved, Ashley and Paula, that they've done an excellent job with all the paperwork and the fundraising. They've made it really easy on us coaches to where all we have to do is coach football, and they've handled all of that for us.
That makes it nice.
They've done an excellent job with that part.
Of course, I was down in that program for a lot of years, and it's tough. I mean, of course, I did middle school for 4 years. People don't understand how much time and effort it takes and how much it takes from the family. I mean, my wife was just like, all right, I don't have a husband for the next 3 months, and it's tough. I mean, the reality of it is, if you're going to commit and do a good job, it's a sacrifice from your family, but it's just the results that you guys will have. I'm excited to see that. And it's good to see good folks in our program too, because I think a lot of times fundamentals, no matter what sport we have, fundamentals are so overlooked. And if you could just hammer those fundamentals at these younger ages, like we talked about last week, it's about getting these guys, don't get me wrong, you want to win a Super Bowl no matter what. I hate losing. If I play rummy, I want to win. So you know how bad I hate losing, Shad. But the bigger picture is to set these guys up for high school, for success, right, for Coach Graham. And when they get to middle school, or actually 3rd and 4th grade, get to 5th, 6th grade, that you guys have taught them the basic fundamentals, and then you get them at the 5th and 6th grade, and you have Coach Joel and then Coach Troy and those other guys up there, and then they'll give them to the middle school coaches, and then hopefully the middle school coaches do the same thing. It's all about every program. That's what they do. They set up from the Pee Wee program. It's fundamentals. You want to win. That's great. But at the end of the day, who wants to celebrate? Who would rather celebrate a TVC victory versus a Super Bowl victory? And a lot of times we put the focus on wins at the younger age, and then that actually costs us at the older age because all these kids don't get in, and they lose. It's like, why am I practicing 6-8 hours a week to not play? And then they end up losing interest. Like you said, it's hard to get these kids motivated to go out there and hit each other. Yes, it's hot. It's like
fine line between going too hard and then pushing them over the limit too.
Being tough and being nice enough to keep them around,
not burn them out
so they
too
make
quick.
it to high school.
Yeah. I'm kind of taking.
So I agree with everything Coach said about the challenges and stuff, but I also think starting from scratch, complete scratch, and having to get all new equipment was another thing too, because whenever we suited up the first time, we was getting everyone fitted. We had some helmets. We didn't have enough small helmets, and we had to go get some inserts. And we're going on the fly, trying to get everything prepared. And we don't have a sled. We're having to use the high school sled to do everything. So, being a first-year program, we don't have all the equipment we need. But we've had excellent, people helping fundraisers. This is a great community helping us out.
Yeah, I went over there a couple of times, and I've seen you guys practice, and it's exciting to see the whole practice field filled up with football players, parents watching practice. Then you look across the street and you get all the cheerleaders over there practicing, and then you have the middle school guys practicing at the same time. It's just exciting to see just that many people down there at the same time, every night during the week. So I know how much work you guys put in there, so I want to say thank you guys for doing what you do. So you guys played last weekend's a preview. So what you guys play on Saturdays, correct?
Yeah.
And then this week in their league they have Beverly, Fed Hawk, Lowell, Miller, Alexander, Eastern, and Waterford. So last week they played in the preview. They start out this week. They opened up with the league champs, defending league champs, Beverly, correct? Lowell. I'm sorry, Lowell. I wrote your note down wrong. So, and I guess as a coaching staff, kind of what are you? it's one thing to teach the X and O's, but you have a mental aspect of the game too. So what are you guys, kind of give me some examples. What are you guys talking to your kids about? Game one, this is what we want to accomplish game one. Of course we want to win, but mainly this is the goals that we want to accomplish.
I haven't even really addressed a lot of that. I've got so many young players. Our goal is just going to play as clean a game as we can, and just the little things, the handoffs, not jumping off sides, all the basics. And if they do that, and of course you always want effort, you'd love to see them hitting, but that's just not going to happen. I mean, you might have one or two of those, but that's really my goal, is that we look like a football team. They go out there and play hard, and if they do that for me, I'll be happy with game one.
Yeah,
I mean, because I've got a lot of first-year kids, so that they did well at the preview. I mean, my first play, Case and Cardwell ran us a touchdown right around the end, so that was encouraging. But we got a long ways to go. I guess my goal was just to have a good, clean game. Hopefully, no turnovers. If I get that much, I'll be pretty happy.
And we wanted to get some highlights, and we couldn't get them to download. Kelly Long has some great highlights on Facebook that you directed me to, and we were going to play those tonight to because I think it's important to make sure these kids understand how important they are. Because a lot of times, when they're the younger kids, the focus is on varsity, but they're the future, and we need to build the excitement up around those guys and let them understand, hey, you guys are the future, and we're going to focus on you. We're going to put the time and attention that you need. And so hopefully next weekend we can get next week we can have some highlights we can play. Because what young man, don't want to see himself on YouTube with the highlights.
They don't like seeing the videos.
Yeah, exactly. So it's exciting. I'm thankful to have good guys in the program, because I know, of course, Shad, you're one of my best friends, and I know who you are, what you're about, and I'm sure Coach Posada is the same way. And I know a lot of those guys down there are good Wilson guys, and it's going to teach the game right.
Do y'all have any experience coming back at all this year?
On my team, I would say I may have about 5 kids that played last year, and I would say I think 3 of them were second graders last year.
Gotcha.
So I only have a couple that experienced fourth graders.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It'd be great to have about 10 of them, but I got 2. So
You got to start somewhere.
Yep.
Majority of 5th and 6th played last year, so we're looking pretty good in that aspect of it. And to touch on what Coach was saying earlier, like the challenge is, we tell our boys every night, we beat it in their head. You got to have short-term memory loss. Like something bad's always going to happen on the football field. You have to get over it. You have to move on to the next play, and that's what it's about. And they've been doing great.
That's what I always preach is effort, or attitude and effort. I can handle a mistake as long as you have a good attitude and you give me everything you got. Because if you make a mistake and you're hustling, we can live with that. If you're out there and you're being lazy and you have a bad attitude, and then you make a mistake, and that's a problem. So it's, I think that's important. It lets kids play looser. They're not afraid to make a mistake where they get ripped to the, feel like they're going to get punished if they, dive after a ball and miss it or whatever. So it's good to hear that you guys are doing a great job down there. So all the coaches for the 5th and 6th grade, you got, of course, Troy Stewart, Nathan Wilson, Stephen Williams, and Derek King, and then Shad, and of course, Coach Joel. And then we have Shad Wonders, Adam Stevens, Caleb Williams, and Stephen Carper at the 3rd and 4th grade. And there's numerous people like you said that are behind the scenes that they'll never get credit, that is lining up the schedules, that's lining up the budget, that's paying for things that you need, and then planning for the future, and organizing things like this. Because I texted Paula Lambert earlier this week and asked her if she could help out, because I know you guys are busy and we hate to cut into your practice time, but we want to make sure that we include you guys, and I want your young men to know that we know how valuable they are, and that we want to play their highlights up here, and not just the big plays, but show some lineman highlights, because those guys never get no love. They're the heart and soul of every team, the D line, the offensive line. Of course, Shad played at West Liberty, and Division I football, 4 years there. Kind of, I guess, how can you relate that, Shad, to what you did in 4 years of college football to what you're doing now? How are you taking your experience from West Liberty to with these younger guys?
I honestly, I don't know if I am. It's been so long, but it's a lot's coming back to me, because I haven't had nothing to do with football for several years now, and getting back out there and coaching kind of got the juices flowing again. So I'm getting back into it, but with the little guys, like I said, it's just so different, because you've got to really walk that fine line between keeping them interested and being tough on them. And that's really what I'm focusing on right now. But when I watch their team play, that's when I really think, man, if I could just have his boy he's a man child. And when I see him line up at D-line, I was like, man, if I could just work with him, So I think I could do that with the older kids. But honestly, as far as I don't know that a lot of college stuff transfers to second, third, and fourth. You know what I mean? I think it's almost more dad stuff that transfers. Keeping them motivated, appreciating them, keeping them there,
Encouraging it.
and then teaching them the fundamentals so they're gradually getting better.
Nowadays, there's so many options for these guys. So when we were younger, we talk about this all the time. There was not many options. So a lot of people played football. Now you have, of course, the social media, the phones, smartphones, the computer, whatever it is, you name it. There's so many different options for these young men to come out, and then some of these young ladies play football too. But so you really got to give them a reason to stick around, and it's kind of like, I think we've had this conversation before. If me and you go to work next week, I work 40 hours, you work 40 hours, and payday comes, I get a 40-hour check, you get a 10-hour check. What are you going to come back for? And that's with football too. These kids are out here playing their butts off, and a lot of times, a lot of these kids don't get put in until like the last 30 seconds of the game, and they've been out there practicing their butts off. So me and Matt, when we were in middle school, the one thing we challenged ourselves to do is all right, how can we get this young man who may not have the size or may not normally get in the game at this time, how do you sneak him in somewhere in the first quarter with the starters? Because that builds their confidence up, and that shows them, hey, if I work my butt off and have a good attitude, I want to get in this game and it matters. Right. So I think that helped our numbers. We didn't lose a lot of players.
And that's a really hard thing to do as a coach too, when you're dealing with a small group and you get out there and you're wanting things to go well. So that's where your assistant coaches come in, because we have 2 offensive coaches, 2 defensive coaches, and I want one of us to try to do that. Just
it's hard.
Sneak them in there at corner or sneak them in there at tackle just for one play, so they're not standing over there for the whole game.
Yeah.
And then you want them to come back to practice on Monday and run sprints and do bear crawls. So it's a balancing act.
It does mean a lot getting in that game, and it's hard. It takes a commitment. There's times, not very many games that we didn't get everybody in, but there's times you get to the end of the game I didn't get such in. Then you feel like, you feel terrible, but then the next game you make sure those guys get in. But that's the thing, is keeping kids excited. Like you said, I think dad, more being a dad and relating with the kids, keeping them around, keep excited is the most important thing, and making sure that fundamentals, keep them around, give them the 5th, 6th grade, and then just the same process over and over and over. And then hopefully a couple of years, Coach Graham's got 15, 16 senior or freshmen every year coming in, and that's when your numbers start getting up. I kind of dominated this conversation, so I apologize. I'll shut up.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think to piggyback off of what Nathan said earlier about how your college experience might transfer down to younger levels. One of the challenges that I would have, and it sort of did in middle school, was we consume, all of us here at this table consume football at a high level. Once fall starts, we're watching Ohio State and multiple college games on Saturday, we're watching NFL on Sunday. So we understand football at a pretty high intellectual level. What do you do to kind of simplify things and get all that out of your head so you can teach? I cannot imagine teaching 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade kids any football concepts. So, Shad, what do you do to really make that simple? And then Joel, to piggyback off that, do you guys start to change into a little more advanced concepts in that older age at all?
Well, in the 5th and 6th grade, what we've done is we've taken the high school playbook and we've kind of, I don't want to say dumbed down to use that phrase, but we've kind of made it more simpler for our, you know what I mean? So we're not pulling guards or anything, but we're still running the basic offense they run. And, our defense in the 5th and 6th grade is a 5-3, pretty standard defense for youth football. So, we're just doing pretty basic stuff, and they're all handling it pretty well in the 5th and 6th grade.
And that's a lot of times when you got kids who've never played before, you're trying to get them to understand the concept of football. And so that's, like I said, I think it's important to make sure you don't overcomplicate it, don't use fancy terms, just make it simple. And that way those guys, and the less confused they are, the more confident they'll be out there too, when you're trying to teach them something.
Well, and the good thing is if you're already using the high school's base playbook, they're already learning that language. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about football is, an offensive scheme is basically a language. And if you understand the language, as you get older, you can consume more of that language. So that to me is the biggest thing I think that we've been missing as far as continuity goes. And we try to do that with the middle school guys when Coach Phillips was here at the high school level. was he basically gave us his stuff. He said, I don't care what you guys do as long as you don't run defense of the week. But he said, you take this. He said, as long as they know the terminology, we're good. We had a ridiculous, I won't get into that, but we had a ridiculous amount of calls. But once they got into high school, it didn't matter because they already knew the language. So kudos to you guys for taking that step. And to me, that's the building block of continuity in the program. If you look at any of these big programs like Wheelersburg, Jackson, Ironton, you look at their youth programs, that's why. It's the same stuff.
It's under the umbrella. That was the whole point of this program from the beginning. Get us under the umbrella of the high school. Coach Graham's been awesome, and he's been overseeing, and he's been coming down and watching practices and stuff. And he knows he's gonna have these boys in a few short years.
And it means a lot when a player can look over and see a high school coach down there, like, oh, I'm gonna run a little bit harder. His coach is watching, or a high school player come down. It means a lot because a lot of times, where you put your time is where your value is. So if you have a coach who's going to come down and actually, instead of just saying he cares about the program, but when he actually comes out and participates or visits, whatever he does, that shows the kids that, hey, that's where his time's important, and that means a lot. So it's exciting to hear because
excellent camp on for us too.
Yeah, I followed that on Facebook, and so it's exciting to see, and it's about building excitement and letting these kids know, hey, you know what? When they step on the field, I'm just like anybody else. We can line up and beat anybody any day. And I say it all the time that I don't care how big you are, I don't care how small you are. If I'm better at you than what you are, if I line up in front of you and I'm better at you at what I do than you are, I'm going to kick your butt all day long. And that's those little things, just trying to get the little stuff right that you guys are talking about.
So I think we've got a little bit of time before we take a break here. You had a preview game already. Give us some player shout-outs. Who are some guys that had some highlights since we couldn't get the video? Give them a holler.
For me, little Cason Cardwell, he's probably my hardest hitter, and he's going to be my go-to running back.
What grade?
Cason is a 4th grader, and I've got I've got Cooper Williams at quarterback and Walker Williams at running back. They're both little guys. They're only 3rd graders, but they've played multiple years. My offensive line, I've got little Brantley Carper and Callum Pugh, and my boy Shadrack's playing center. They're coming along good. Brantley and Callan are my 2 big returning linemen that have some experience. They're doing really well. And little Brayson, he's a 2nd grader, but I believe he's earned himself some carries with the big boys.
Nice.
It might only be a couple of games, but he's doing well. Several of them are doing well. There's several boys that I've brought along from baseball because I've been coaching baseball for so many years. So Clayton Stevens and little Gabe and several of the boys that I've been with, you develop a relationship with those kids, and you can trust them to at least listen to you.
Right.
Because some of my first-year kids, they don't know me. I'm just some big scary guy yelling at them. And so you've got to kind of teach them to listen. And I've been saying that every practice. If you're not looking at me and you don't have your mouth shut, you're not learning. And
right.
So, but they're doing really well, and I think we'll hold our own.
Awesome. Joel, what are some of your leaders?
Man, during that preview, all of our kids done great. I really want to give a shout out to them. They did a great job, But we had Jet Stewart and Landon Carper both going in for quarterback. They're swapping in and out. They both did a great job. Little Jackson. I know his name.
Jace.
I forgot it. Jace Jackson. He's a monster. He scored 2 touchdowns during that preview. He is the epitome of what football's about. He can see the field. He's an excellent player. Easton Williams and Mason Lambert, they both did great at linebacker. Landon did a great job at D end, and then we had B. Usley. He was the other D end. Our O-line did great, D-line did great. We had a bunch of kids just really caught me off guard. I didn't expect them to do that well.
Awesome. Okay, well, guys, thanks for coming on the show. We're going to jump to a break here real quick. Nice to hear those kids' names.
Yeah, thank you for coming out, guys.
Yeah, look forward to hearing those same names here in a few years when they get older. So thanks for.
Could we do like a hit of the week or a player of the week for these guys, and then bring them back every week?
Bring the boys with
Yeah.
us. A couple
Sure,
of boys
absolutely.
next
Come
time.
back anytime.
We've got 30 or 10 seconds, so we got to get off here. But let's do that next week. I'll coordinate with you guys, and we'll get that going. So thanks, guys, for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with some Oak Hill versus Wellston highlights from last week. We'll see you in just a bit. All right, Wellston sports fans, we are back live at the Patio Grubs and Subs in Wellston, Ohio. You are watching the second installment of Thursday Night Lights. This is your Wellston sports recap from the previous week. We had our opening episode last week, so we're having a lot of fun doing this. At this time, we're going to get into last week's matchup versus Oak Hill. And guys, I can still smell that win.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was a great feeling. Get that 0-10 monkey off our back. And let's move on with the rest of the regular season. So, thanks to Mike Graham, or I'm sorry, Chris Graham. He was supposed to be here. We're still waiting on him to show up. But I think Mike Gray in the booth has some highlights for us, so we'll try to walk you through some highlights. Guys, I'll try to stay out of this. I usually handle play-by-play kind of stuff. So Nate and Jordan,
no, go ahead.
We'll get you guys in on the.
You've got this. He's wait.
All right, here we go, guys. Okay, so this is Johnny Scott's first touchdown. Breaks a couple of tackles, good hard run. And now we're seeing a bumbled snap by Eddie Abley, the quarterback. This is the one that we talked about this. Mike, if you want to pause this clip here just a second. Jordan, we talked about this watching it live.
Yeah.
Evan Cantor was on the coverage right there and kind of got turned around the wrong way. As you can see, Eddie Abley bobbles this snap, manages to pick it up. He's under pressure. And this is just goes to show you how something little in a football game can kind of turn the tide.
Yeah. Broken play turned into a real nice play down the field. It's just a little technique thing there with our corner, and I'm sure that they addressed that this week. But yeah, you got to always keep your eyes on that receiver, and you got to turn to the receiver right there going down the field, and you'll stay connected. But you got to realize, though, the quarterback broke the play down, got outside the pocket. We probably got cheated and went up the field a little bit and got beat, and then we recovered pretty well there and made the tackle.
Right. Well, and the good thing is, if you saw, we held him to field goal right there.
Yeah.
That was McKinnis for Oak
It's a
Hill.
nice field goal. What's that?
Right.
20,
And the head-to-head battle
field
between Johnny Scott and number 3 for Oak Hill. I mean,
That was
fun
a
to
story
watch.
all night. Yeah.
the kid for Oak Hill, he set a single game tackle record for their school during that game. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, especially for a small quarterback.
Yeah.
And this is Josh Clarkson. You'll see a little bit more of this kid, I think, through the coming weeks. He's quick. He's
Shifty.
laterally quick. Very, very shifty. And he's small, so at 5'6", he kind of gets lost behind the line of scrimmage sometimes. Another good hard run here by Johnny Scott. We ran the quarterback. Nathan, how many carries did he have?
Johnny, let me look it up here as you're doing the highlights.
Yeah, there's that one Johnny ran down the sideline
So
there and
Johnny
stuck his
Scott
helmet.
had 24 rushes for 193 yards, averaging 8 point.
And then here you're seeing Josh Clarkson. This is his kid's first career touchdown. So he didn't have a lot of carries, but managed to chuck up some yardage. Not bad for a sophomore at 5'6".
Yeah, he's got that Barry Sanders shiftiness to him. He's got that lateral quickness.
Right. So, we talked about a little bit later in the game, we thought things were getting a little bit predictable offensively, but when you watch the highlights, you could see our offensive line was getting such a good push, especially seemed like to that right side. Johnny Scott had that edge just about all night.
Yeah, our offensive line was getting off the ball well all night. I mean, we can't say nothing bad about that, I'll tell you.
It's like we said, Coach Briggs they knew what we were doing. And it's like us against you, and we're going to beat you, and we overpowered them.
Here's a breakdown in the pocket here, number 3. Made something out of nothing.
This is the deep ball where, like you said, I think Cale might have thought that play was over. It wasn't over.
I think he thought the quarterback was going to tuck it up and run upfield there.
Yep.
But he made a nice recovery to get back to it.
When you're running with your back to the offense and you see the quarterback rolling around, it's hard to know, should I stop, should I not stop? So it's a tough decision for a quarterback.
It's a big, it's discipline. You just got to stay with that receiver. If they're running downfield, you got to stay with them. Watch their eyes.
And if you watch that play again, I think Cale might have had a guy underneath. So he probably had to pick between two.
Yeah.
But like Nathan said, you never see that kid give up on a play. I mean, he's a hustle all the time.
So here's that play again we were just talking about. So
this takes forever. Eddie Abley has all kinds of time right here. And this is a great throw on his part, but you can see Cale had to come from probably about 15 to 20 yards to try to make that play. So he had to have seen something underneath that drew his attention in. So kudos to the offense. It's a good execution on their part. And then this is just a straight keep by Eddie Abley. This is where he started to take this game over. If you watch the temperature of this game up to this point, Oak Hill was trying to spread the ball out mostly to Andy Melton on the wide receiver spot. But this is where you just kind of saw a switch flip from Eddie Abley. And offensively and defensively, this guy caught fire.
And our team didn't, they didn't lose their composure. they kept grinding, and they ended up pulling out the win, which was exciting because a lot of times, you know, having the season that we had last year, coming to this year, that can play when things start swinging the other way. How are you going to respond? And these guys kept fighting.
We matched them. We matched them, and then went a little bit further. And
right there's a big first down, and that's kids are excited. It's good to see the body language out there. Look at them. I mean, that's well deserved. These kids have worked their tails off in the summertime. They come out here week one to get a win. That's huge.
So, one of the things that we talked about, we were calling the game live, was I don't feel like, I'm sure you guys can agree with me, that the score at the end of that game represented how that game really went. Both sides of the ball, offensive, defensive lines, pretty much I think won the day.
Right. No disrespect to Oak Hill. They played their tails off. They kept fighting and they didn't give up. So kudos to them. Like you talked about Eddie Abley, just the energy that he was showing on defense, just keep his team rallied. So kudos to them for fighting. But I feel like we left probably at least 2 touchdowns on the board. Just key penalties in key positions or key times that killed a drive, or and so that's that stuff is correctable as a coach. You go to the locker room or you watch film on Saturday morning, and you say, all right. The good thing is we did maybe not score as much as we could have, but the stuff that we're doing is correctable stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it's early in the season. You got a little bit of fatigue playing into all that. Your mind's
right.
You're nervous. You're out there for the first time in front of a big crowd. County game.
Big crowd too.
I mean, it was a nice environment out there for our boys, and they came out with a win, man. 1-0 right now.
Yeah.
And they got an opportunity to win a bunch of ball games this season.
Defensively, our guys played their tails off. Our D line, like we were talking about before the show started, I went back and watched them, some of the highlights, and the gap, just the way our guys are able to maintain their gaps on D line, it was incredible. A lot of times as a D lineman, it's really hard not to chase a play if it goes away from you. Well, then what happens, you create a cutback hole. Our guys did a really good job just staying home, and then when a play come back to them, shed the blocker and make a tackle. And then how many times before the snap did everybody in the whole stadium know that Ed Abley was going to throw to number 13?
Right.
But how well did our DBs do? Kel Fott over there and those guys, Josh Clarkson, those guys over there kept him locked down. I mean, they did a great job. I mean, they really did.
They did, and they did a good job getting off stock blocks out on the end to get through there and make some good key tackles, for loss.
Right.
Putting pressure on the quarterback, so the quarterback's got to throw it out of bounds instead of making a play downfield.
Yeah.
So our player of the game for that week was, no surprise here, Johnny Scott.
Yeah, Johnny.
He's the junior quarterback, leader of the offense. And in our pregame show, talking to offensive coordinator Joe Briggs, we knew that we were going to be a quarterback run-heavy team. I did not expect 24 carries, but the kid made the most of it. Unfortunately, didn't complete any passes, but didn't need to. We
had
dominated.
Johnny with 24 rushes and 193 yards. Seth Lambert had 19 rushes, 86 yards, averaging 4.5 yards a carry. Josh Clarkson, 9 carries, 61 yards, 6.5 yards a carry. And then Mr. Collins had 1 carry for 9 yards. And that's pretty strong. When you can average that many yards per carry across a group, that's pretty strong.
When your offensive line's getting that kind of a push, I mean, I tell you what, I don't blame them. Just keep pounding that thing.
Yeah.
You're getting 3 to 5 every time.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get first downs. You're going to get yourself down in the red zone for opportunities to score.
And like we talked during the game, when you ask Coach Briggs as offensive coordinator, you can almost feel that he had so much confidence in his line that, hey, we're going to run right at you. It's up to you to stop us, and they couldn't stop us.
No.
And so right now, let's go over some defensive individual stats. So that's kind of always kind of under the radar. So Hunter Collins had 2 tackles, Kel fought 5 tackles, 1 for a loss. That's really good for a cornerback. Josh Clarkson, 4.5 tackles. Evan Canner had 2 tackles, 2 for loss. Isaac McWilliams, which had the head of the game, also he had 4 tackles and then 1 sack. Mason Collins had a half a tackle, 2 for loss, 2 tackles for loss. And then Brown had 1 tackle. Goheen, 2 tackles. Lambert, 2 tackles. Seth Lambert, 2 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovered. And then, so a total of 23 tackles out of those gentlemen right there, which is a good
spread
night.
out pretty good, too,
Yeah.
And something about stats, guys, we're working on a system to try to refine, maybe get these a little bit more accurate. So I'm sure if we missed anybody, we're working on it.
If we missed
We'll get
anybody,
better.
these came from Coach the coaching
Oh,
staff.
okay,
So,
great.
yeah.
So we can throw them under the bus then.
Right.
Okay. Well, guys, I think that pretty much wraps up our recap, I think. There's some other things that we'll talk about with Coach Graham once he gets here. A lot to say about the defense still. But in the meantime, we'll take a few-minute break here. We'll be right back with you. Nathan Molihan, Jordan Lackey, I'm Matt Petersen. We'll see you here in just a minute. All right, guys, we are live here again at the Patio, Grubs, and Suds in Wellston, Ohio. Thanks for coming out and watching Thursday Night Lights with us. For our third segment here tonight, we are pleased to be joined by the player of the game, junior quarterback Johnny Scott, and head coach Chris Graham. We'll talk a little bit more about the Oak Hill-Wellston matchup, and I think he's got some other seniors. If we have some time, we'll get Isaac McWilliams on here. He had a pretty big play, maybe some of these other guys. So, Johnny, big game, man.
Yep.
190-plus on the ground.
Yep.
So we knew, talking in the pregame, that this was going to be a QB feature run-type offense. How are you feeling? Did you feel pretty good the whole night?
Oh, yeah, I got to give credit to the line, but they done a great job. But I went in knowing I wanted to have a big night, and I had to make it happen. So
You look comfortable out there.
yeah.
Did. And I think that was a big takeaway for me. Was I thought last year you looked a little bit panicked at times.
Yeah.
You can see the year of experience now. We know what the game speed looks like. We know what defensive pressure looks like. And you did, especially on the outside runs, cutting off the edge, did a great job being patient, following blocks. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch.
Coach Graham, congratulations.
Thank you.
Johnny, congratulations for the win. I know how much time you guys put in off season and how big that win was to get one in the in the win book and the W there. So it was good to hear that victory bell after the game. You guys are there ringing the victory bell. So as the game progressed, last week we talked. I'm not sure, Johnny, if you watched our program last week, but last week we talked, and I said one of the keys to the game is got to be the quarterback play of Johnny Scott. How's Johnny matured? How's Johnny going to respond when things go rough? And because every game we always plan for things to go perfect, but it don't always go perfect. And how can we respond mentally to make sure we don't have those big mistakes? And as toward the end of the game there, Oak Hill kept fighting. They did not give up. They kept fighting. And there was one play there. You had a nice run. Well, actually, you was getting tackled in the backfield, and you had a face mask hold on. You got the guy's face mask. And I've been there before. I think that was almost like a frustration out of your part, because I've been there before too, trust me. And but what impressed me is how you recovered after that, because a lot of times, in that situation, a lot of guys can just kind of just let their head get down, and then as a quarterback goes down, the team goes down. But you know what? You came back and had a big run right after that. And so I was very proud of how you responded to that. And your line played great. Everybody played great. Your receivers, everybody did a good job blocking the edge when you were running the ball. So it was good to see everybody respond positively to that. So congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
I think you did one heck of a job carrying out your fakes, too. I think that helped a lot in the running game. I mean, carrying out your fakes, making it harder for the defense to be able to see where the ball is at. You got some shorter backs back here. It's harder for these guys to see these guys. So that plays into a lot, too, also, carrying out those fakes.
He works hard at that.
Yeah.
We're constantly hounding him about carrying out the fakes, because that's the little things we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Those little things are important, and he does a great job at doing that. And a lot of quarterbacks don't do that. They think, and same thing with receivers.
Got to do it.
If you're faking a route, make sure you're faking your routes and running your routes hard, not just when you're getting the ball, because then everybody it's kind of a telltale sign. And we're trying to take every approach that we can to get any advantage that we can. So
Yeah, if you sell that fake, and if you just hold those linebackers for half a second, that's just enough to get those guys open. And it's pretty important. So great job by that.
We've been talking. We talked about it when we called the game live. We talked about it in our last segment. We felt like that game probably should have been 28-9 or 28-3. I'll broach a subject that nobody wants to talk about, but I kind of want to get your input on some. We were talking about responses to negative events. We had 80 yards and penalties in that game, and a lot of those came in crucial. We're getting close to the red zone, threatening. Johnny, what were some of the things that you could say in the huddle and your demeanor that kind of made sure that these guys didn't get contentious? Because we've seen that happen in teams past where a penalty happens, it turns into a finger-pointing game. Didn't see any of that this week, and that was nice to see. Everybody comes back calm, and it was just about executing the next play. So what are some of the things you say in the huddle when that happens?
We had one. I ran that QB sneak for a touchdown, and there something got called, and they was arguing a little bit. But I told them we'll score again, and it's all right, and just got to move past it. You know, last year we struggled on things like that where we'd argue, and that'd be a big point that would take us in the wrong direction. So we need to mature more as a team, and we're doing that pretty good this year.
Seeing the big picture now a little bit.
Yeah.
Buying into it.
Yep. And Coach, kudos to you because I know that that's something you're instilling in your guys. And we talked about that in a pregame with your military experience.
Right.
Discipline, being able to control your emotions.
When we come in this year, you get a football team that's kind of like a big jigsaw puzzle. We're trying to find pieces that go where, then all of a sudden leaders start to emerge, and we're trying to fit those pieces in where they belong, and they're starting to fall in places. Johnny's one of our on-field leaders, along with some linemen. I can't give our line enough credit. I mean,
They did a
I
great
think
job.
you guys were generous. I thought the score should have been 30-0. To be honest with you, we had a couple blunders defensively. We had a couple miscues on two big pass plays.
Yeah.
And we pretty much moved the ball up down the field. And I'm proud to say that we moved the ball and we did a pretty good job defensively.
Yeah, all those things
130 yards total.
Yeah, it was the total offense we had 344 yards total offense, and that's pretty impressive.
Now everybody was yelling, unleash the passing game, but again, why go away from something that's working just to have numbers?
And that's what we
said.
So,
we talked about that in the press box. It's almost like we talked about Coach Briggs having maybe the confidence in his line to say, you know what, we're kind of almost telling you we're going to run the ball at right now, and we're going to just challenge you to stop us, and they couldn't stop you guys. Your line did a great job. And
that was our game plan from the get-go.
And your backs did a good job being patient too, because a lot of times as backs, inexperienced backs, they'll hit that hole quick and run in the back of the lineman. A little noise in the background. But one thing we just watched your guys do as they matured is be patient, wait for the line to open up, and then hit the hole. So that was impressive to watch. So, yeah.
And especially, our backs done a great job blocking. Our backs did an outstanding job, and our receivers. And we was all weak. We got them in the scrimmages. They were loafing a little bit, and they really, really picked it up. So our receivers, they got some awards tonight in our sticker ceremony. They got a lot of awards passed out this evening for some good things.
That's all. That's good to hear.
We just got done kicking field goals at PATs, and Mikey just kicked a 45-yarder in practice.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And he kicked 6 PATs.
Mike Weber, a senior, right?
Yeah, and he had a couple mishaps last week, but he's going to be a gamer for us. I got a lot of confidence. I haven't lost confidence in him. I'm looking forward to him kicking, and I told him that he's going to win some games for us.
What's good about Mike is he comes from a level-headed dad.
That's a great kid.
Family that
Yes.
Emotions will not affect him. He'll just come out and he'll just perform. And those emotions of maybe missing a couple PATs is not going to affect him moving through the season. He's a great young man, comes from a good family. But yeah. So, Coach, we talked last week after the segments about, tell us about your practice cameras and how you're kind of using that to hold yourself and your team accountable during practice.
Yeah, so we film with the end zone camera every practice, offensive and defensive sessions and team, and we modify and make adjustments. We pull kids in and talk to them where they're supposed to be. We have all the plays written down, and we go through each session, and we break the film down, and they kind of see, I was too wide on that, or I was too tight on this one or that one. And the same thing defensively. I was in the wrong spot. I didn't see this, and we pick up the read keys and things like that. We just constantly do that every day, so we can block any front that you throw at us. They know what to do. That's the main thing. So, we're running plays. If you're in a 3 front, a 4 front, or a 5 front, we're going to be able to block you.
Yeah.
If you're blitzing backers, we're going to pick you up. So, and that's what we use our cameras for. And we'll give different looks, especially for the week ahead.
Are they making live calls at the line?
Yes.
Okay.
We're audible some plays in. So we're changing things as they go through.
Good.
We probably audible 4 or 5 times last week, and Johnny does a great job. We pile a lot of stuff on him. He's an extension of the coach, so basically we want our coach on the field. So that's what we have. And he's done an excellent job of stepping up this year.
I think that's a lot of times the coach micromanage too much when it comes to their players. They got to be leaders. They got to know how to make decisions and tough. Like you said, they are an extension of the coach out there, so that's good to hear. So we got Isaac McWilliams up here. We want to have him come down and sit down where
Johnny,
Johnny's at.
thanks for coming on, man.
Congratulations, Johnny. Good luck tomorrow,
Congratulations.
Johnny.
Good luck, Coach. Oh, you're still here.
Hey, he's not.
Yeah,
He's
he's
staying. He's staying.
He can hang out with us for a little bit.
Okay, good.
Isaac McWilliams.
Welcome, buddy.
A lot of history with this young man right here. I've coached him a lot.
Yep.
He's a great young man. He's just one of those guys that every program needs. He comes in. He doesn't complain. I don't care if you ask him to play whatever position. Coach, you probably agree. He'd just play it and be happy. And so last week when we were sitting around after the game trying to pick the hit of the game, and then of course Matt, I'll let you walk us through that.
Well, it was actually a couple of plays because people think hit of the game. You're looking, okay, who made the most violent, knock somebody's socks off hit, and it's not always about that. A lot of times it's about football play in key situations. That's kind of what we felt like with you. There were two plays about midway through the third quarter. We had Oak Hill in a 2nd and long, and of course you're playing in the inside linebacker position. Josh Clarkson's off to your right on the outside, and then Cale Fott off to the corner. Well, 2 straight plays they line up 4 wide, which means all of a sudden everybody's split out. And for people that understand football, that's a lot of ground for a middle linebacker to have to cover when he's responsible for the flat if they stretch the field. Sure enough, that's what they do. So on 2nd down, you had great pursuit, did not over pursue. To me, that's the thing is you see a lot of young linebackers, immature linebackers, they see a quarterback running free and they just want to go head hunt for the kill. And it's not always about that. You did a great job of breaking your steps down, running Eddie Abley out to where he has to throw the ball out of bounds. So we come back, we got 3rd and 14, almost the exact same play, only this time it looked like you kind of dropped into coverage to help Clarkson in the flat. Same thing, Eddie Abley rolls the same direction. This time you read the play right, come in and get the quarterback sacked. So 2 intellectually smart plays to me earned you hit of the game. So did I have that accurate as far as how that all transpired?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we went in there. We knew we needed to make a statement for that game, so I went in and tried to play my best game I could.
You did a great job. Yeah. There were some other plays that you were involved in too, but those 2, I think, to me, were the ones that really stood out. And to happen on back-to-back plays, because that's a lot of running to do. And, of course, Oak Hill's trying to spread everything out. They like to hit those edges. What we were concerned about was they kept going to Melton on these little screens. I thought surely they're going to stretch it. One of these times they're going to try to get, because McKinnis is a fast guy, they're going to try to get him in the slot, hit that seam or something like that. So great job on, like I said, being disciplined, not over
heck of a job keeping him contained.
So Isaac is a senior, and let's get these other seniors over real quick, Coach, before we run out of time. So we have what, total of 6 seniors?
Yes. Got Bennett Yard to check. Evan Canner. Mikey Weber.
So we got Bennett.
Dayton Breach. And Hunter Brown.
Is Hunter here?
I think Hunter may have slipped out to the volleyball game.
Oh, okay.
I think he went to, I think his girlfriend's playing volleyball.
A lot better views over there.
Yeah.
He's a big-bodied kid, too.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about what Coach Molihan talked about with Isaac a little bit. He come in the season last year, he was a tight end. He's a senior, he's number 17. So I come to him, I said, listen, I don't need you at tight end. He said, Coach, where do you need me to play? And I said, I need you to play tackle. And I'm going to have to change your number. He was a little upset at first, but then I gave him number 55. Now he's kind of grown into number 55 now.
It's weird
it was a tough exchange, but I'll tell you what, that's a team player.
That's what it takes.
And that's exactly what I want him.
Down to home.
Yeah, exactly. He's done an outstanding job for us on the line and defensively.
Yeah, well, we certainly thought he was a key in that because the whole linebacker core, I think, played excellent. Of course, Bennett, you're part of that.
Hey, Coach, you want to just kind of go around and of course, talk a little bit about each one of these guys?
Yeah, Bennett's our tight end. He's one of our tight ends, and he plays outside linebacker. He's fast. He gets to the ball. Sometimes he doesn't settle his feet a little bit. We talk about that. But there's nobody else I'd want there. I mean, he's reliable. He's our speaking captain. He's aggressive, and he's just a player, and love him to death. Mikey Weber's our kicker. Now, hey, we talked about that last week. We had a couple blunders, but I got all the faith in the world in him. Yep. He's going to win a game for
You said he had, what, a 42-yarder?
Yeah, just tonight. Just tonight, he hit 45.
Wow.
That's how we ended practice. He kicked.
That's impressive.
That's a
He
poke.
kicked probably about, 15 or so field goals tonight, and he missed one.
Wow.
So that's an outstanding job.
That's a big turnaround there.
Mikey also plays a wing back for us, and he plays corner and free safety.
Right.
So he's kind of a three-position player. He's all over the field. Evan Canner's our...
And Mikey, we tried to get him to come out and play for a lot of years because he's a soccer player because we've always struggled in the kicking game. So it's good to have a guy who actually kick the ball. So yeah, I'm glad to see he spent 4 years in the high school program.
Excited to see it. Yeah.
Then we got Evan Canner. He's our corner. He's one of our corners and our wideouts. He's one of our lockdown corners. I mean, he's a role player. He knows the coverages. He's always where he's supposed to be.
Like we said last week, you guys locked those guys down. There was times when everybody in the whole stadium knew where they're going to throw the ball, and they couldn't get where they want to go.
Right. So we're looking for big things out of Evan. We haven't really unleashed our passing game yet. We have a passing game, and it's pretty good. We had a miscue last week. I think we threw the ball like 7 or 8 times last week. But I think Johnny was just tired from running the ball. Yeah. Running so much, he thought, well,
right.
heck. But, we're going to unleash the passing game. We'll get that going, rolling out hopefully this week. Maybe we'll start throwing the ball a little bit more. And then we got Dayton Breach. Dayton Breach is another senior. He's a defensive tackle and an offensive tackle. He's going to be playing some big moments for us, especially tomorrow night. We're looking for him to come in and take some time, get some time because it's going to be hot. And he's a valiant kid. I mean, he comes in, he works hard. He's hard every day.
I was excited to see those 4. Well, we got Isaac, we got Dayton, we got Bennett, and then we got these young men back here that we've all coached. And so that was our last class that we coached. So it's good to see them play through, and that's our last class. And not because keeping numbers up in Wellston has been a difficult task. So it's good to see these guys play all, from the middle school on up through.
So we do have some guys banged up. Justin went down to Oak Hill this past weekend or Monday and hurt his shoulder, so he'll be out for a couple weeks. Braden Myers, he suffered a concussion Monday, so he's out. So we lost a couple guys offensively and one defensively.
Right now with your numbers, it makes a pretty big impact.
A big difference.
And we're playing Justin.
And we're playing a big physical team tomorrow.
Yeah.
Fairland's that's a different ballgame when you go down to Proctorville, and they lost a lot of kids, but doesn't look like they lost anybody to me.
Yeah, I watched them on film, and they're pretty impressive.
They're pretty good. They run a lot of 3x1 empty sets, and they got a fullback that runs like Mike Allstott.
Yep.
Well, and watching their pass game, I think it plays into our strength, because I think our DBs do a great job, and shutting that down. And then our D linemen did a great job last year, doing gap discipline, make sure they stay home and don't run away from play. And so that's what's going to be key, I think, this week is to make sure everybody just does their job.
Yes. And sure tackle. We got to make tackles.
Yeah.
And gang tackle. Because a lot of these guys are tough to bring down by one person. So
yeah.
We're big on getting to the camera view. Everybody's in camera view, and that's what we did last week.
Right. That's good. So how does that help your team? Like, because a lot of times you have guys who aren't close to the ball, and then, I don't need to run over there to try to make a play. So when you say you want everybody in camera view, that gets everybody. They know that, hey, if I don't get over there, they're going to call me out.
They're going to have to pay for that because they know we're watching film, and if you're not in camera view at the end of the play, it's loafs, and then you pay for that on practice Monday.
Yeah.
So we want everybody hustling and commitment, right? That goes back to commitment. We want everybody committed towards one goal. We're trying to win football games, and if one person's loafing, right, it could be a cutback, it could be anything, for a touchdown. So, everybody's taking part, everybody's taking their ownership, and everybody knows their job, and that's our sign, do your job. You see that all football locker room, just do your job.
Yeah.
And you want to be there, and they're corralling, and they're picking each other up, and we're getting there. We're not there, but we're getting there. We have our moments still. And there's some of that stuff Friday night was on me when we get in a little delay and some slow stuff. We're trying to, change some things up and do some things on the fly. And we're learning too as coaches what we can handle, what we can't handle. So it's a good learning curve, and we're going to try to get better each week.
How fast does that 40-second play clock run down when you're on the sideline trying to make a play?
It seems pretty quick. Late in the fourth quarter, it seemed like it was pretty quick, especially when you can't see it.
Right.
You just see the official put 5 seconds, and you're like, oh no, So we worked on that all week, getting to the line a little faster, get the play in a little quicker. So hopefully that works out for us this week.
Yep. And it was, like I said, I think that's a blessing when you don't have to open things up. I think, pretty much stayed in maybe 2 or 3 offensive sets the whole night. Really didn't see a lot of change. If you can get 344 yards of offense out of that kind of stuff without having to show anybody any secrets, we're in the driver's seat, guys. I like where we are.
Yeah, me too.
3 to 5 every time.
Yeah.
Hey.
Why change it?
Why change it up, right?
Well, that's between all the rushers, you're 4+ a carry.
Yeah.
That's right where you want to be.
That's
so,
exactly where you wanna be.
guys, if you don't have anything else for Coach or the players, we'll take a quick break here. Come back and we'll do some league recap and then do our weekly picks. Get on out of here.
All right,
All right.
sounds good.
Thanks for having us, guys.
All right, appreciate it, Coach.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir. See you guys.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live at the Patio Grubs and Subs in Wellston, Ohio. Chris Graham is going to stick around with us, head coach of the Golden Rockets. We just finished our review of last week's game versus Oak Hill, had some senior players up, a couple of key players from that game. So, Coach, thanks for bringing them down.
No problem.
So let's talk about the TVC Ohio over the past week. Guys, we're the only team that pulled out a win. Coach, can you move over one seat there so we can get you in the camera?
Yeah, it's kind of exciting.
Good to be in the driver's seat.
Oh, it is. But it's early.
Let's try to stay there. Alexander Waterford kind of win as I think everybody expected. Waterford 20-0 over Alexander. Dylan Taylor for Waterford, 22 carries, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of those touchdowns was a 57-yard break. And then quarterback Xavier Hess, 7 of 20 passing, 1 TD, two interceptions. 38. He did have a 38-yard passing TD. Alexander only 42 rush yards. It's hard to win ball games if you can't run the football, and I think that's one of the things that I'm excited about us is we do pretty well. So I think when it comes time to meet Alexander, we're going to be ready for that game. Philo at Athens. Philo knocked off Athens 28-13. Athens coughed the ball up 4 times. 2 of those resulted in turnovers. Running back Alex Perro, 21 carries, 119 yards. Turnovers seemed to set Philo up in good position. I think that's kind of our game in reverse. We had some issues, but they were in. We were in a good position when they happened. Wasn't the case for Athens.
It's a pretty good program.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So Athens unfortunately fell to Philo. Philo would have been up 21-0. Athens fumbled to start the third quarter on the Athens 5, and somehow they managed to keep that down. So Athens drops. Who else we got? Meg's at Gallia Academy, complete blowout. Gallia Academy was up 33-0 at the end of the first quarter, wound up 39-0. 220 yards for Gallia Academy between 3 running backs, averaged 13.8 a carry. So, Meg's ready to move on from that one, I'd say. Nelsonville at Trimble, that was a barn burner, man. A lot of defense in that game. Just a lot of back and forth, pretty much punts the whole time. Trimble came out, pulled it off 14-12. Point afters matter. And this is a situation where Nelsonville had an opportunity to tie it up, went for 2, and Mekhi Williams' pass to the corner was incomplete. So just
That's a big rivalry game right
tough
there.
back and forth. That's exactly what you expect out of it. That's one of those games that's either going to be 42-35. You're going to get something like this. You're going to get a lot of mid-range.
Next year we pick up Trimble. Actually, we drop Portsmouth West and we pick up Trimble next year.
Okay, so
I like that.
That'd be a good test.
That'd be a good test.
They always seem to have a tough program, tough offensive line,
Schools are about the same size.
tough running back.
Yeah, we used to play back in the 80s and 90s with the TVC. It was not split into divisions, and we used to play everybody.
And they start with a good Pee Wee program.
Yeah.
They have a really good. We've of course battled those guys for years. Always had a solid program.
And Coach Ferris does an outstanding job for Trimble. I mean, he's been here for 30-some years for football and baseball, and he's just an outstanding coach. Does great things there.
Yeah, and Trimble's another team that had 3 running backs in that game. So fresh, getting in and out of the heat. So River Valley at Eastern 55, River Valley 6. River Valley's only score was on a kickoff return for touchdown. 88 total yards of offense. Again, it's hard to win if you can't. Yards equal points. Eastern had 324 yards, 301 yards rushing, 23 passing. Depth and experience for River Valley, I'm sure, are part of the problem. They just got their roster up in the 30s. I think they finished last year in the 20s. So similar to us. So they're having some of the same struggles, but just couldn't move the ball.
I'm sure Coach Coop, he'll get them ready for the league. It's a tough game for him. Meg's Eastern was pretty stellar last year. They only lost 2 kids last year. I think they made a big run last year in the state playoffs, and actually they only lost 2 guys, so their whole team was back. So that was a tough game for them.
So let's get those ones out of the way early in the year. And then Unioto, Vinton County. Last week, we didn't get to our picks last week because we got rained out, the weather. But I picked Unioto, but I figured it was going to come down to something like this. This is a 1-point ball game. Unioto's quarterback, Newton Hoops, this guy's a complete freak. 13 of 26 passing, 229, 2 pass touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. He broke the school career passing touchdown record against Vinton County. So Vinton County has nothing to be ashamed about in that game.
They dropped 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
That would have sealed the game, and I know Coach Phillips, that sting is still there for him. So, yeah, good win for Union to pull that out. I know it's a tough loss for BC.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Vinton County, you can see according to the picks, and then there was another key play. They fumbled on the first play of the second half, and Unioto recovered on the 1. So that's basically a free score there that completely changes the outlook of the game. Some key players for Vinton County: Garrett Brown, 30 carries, 142 yards and a touchdown. We said it in the pregame show. You're going to see big nights out of him all year long. Lane Hayburn had 2 touchdowns for the Vikings. So nothing bad to say about Vinton County at all. Just one of those freak games that didn't turn out the way they wanted.
Now they go to Circleville this week. It's going to be a big challenge for them.
Right. So yeah, if you look at their pre-conference schedule, man, they've got some slobber knockers. It's going to be some tough games.
They would have definitely liked to get that win last week.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of a key recap of where the TVC stands right now. Wellston, #1 spot right now where we want it to be. Talk about Fairland a little bit, Coach. New head coach this year, but he's been on the staff for a bit. He took over for I can't remember, Cunningham, I think was the guy's name that retired.
Coach Mike Jackson's there now.
Yes, and he likes to get the ball in space. You can see some up-tempo stuff.
His son's the quarterback. That's his son's the quarterback, and he can sling it and he can run it. Like I said, they got guys that can run it. They got guys that can throw it too. It looks like from the film, it looks like they're all the receivers are about 6'1", 6'2", about 185, and
good-sized guys. Yeah,
are track stars. So, we're going to do our best to defend. So you talked about Vinton County's schedule. Same thing with us. We got Fairland, Memphis, and Portsmouth West the next 3 weeks. So
some slobber knockers.
There's some challenges there too. So we're looking forward to it. We just got to stay healthy.
I'm excited to see Kel and number 15 Kel Fott and number 17 for Fairland. They got some good receivers. We got some good DBs, and I think Kel Fott's probably one of the top DBs in Southern Ohio. And so anyway, I think Kel's going to do a good job. And this is one of those games you want to see someone like Kel step up and show that talent that he has right here.
Right. They like to get some one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Like I said, they run the ball well, and they got a little bit of a hurry up. They run some tempo, so it'll be exciting.
So last week they had pretty much their balance on offense. They scored 33 points, 379 total yards, 176 yards passing, 203 yards rushing. So pretty balanced there. And of course, watching them on film, they've got a guy number 78 defensive end. He's pretty physical. So I know that's probably something you put a lot of effort in this week game planning.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I think, like I said, just go in there healthy and stay healthy.
If you watch that film, that's two of the teams we play right there, Fairland and Portsmouth West.
Yeah.
And it was down to the wire. Fairland scored with no time on the clock. It could have went Portsmouth West. You watch the film and looked like there may have been a little bit of a hold, but you never know. As I said, I'm not taking anything from Fairland. Obviously, they're very good, but I'm just giving some credit to West.
Definitely could have went either way.
But West is pretty doggone good too.
Yeah.
So.
They always have a good program. And I got to say that we probably have the toughest schedule starting out in the TVC.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you look at
no question.
Those 3 games are tough.
They're brutal, especially for packing 35 kids. You look at the sidelines. I'd say Fairland's probably got 65, 70 kids,
right.
and West has the same numbers. So, biggest thing is we're going to go compete and we're going to play hard and try to come out unscathed. That's the thing.
Stay healthy through these.
You show up to win. And, you never practice to not win or
right.
just you want to compete and you want to win.
We're going to win.
And I know that's how you can. You're going to approach this. It's like we're not playing just to get by. We want to win. Yeah, we want to upset.
We're going to come to smack them in the mouth.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks for sitting in. We're going to finish up here. You can hang out, but we're going to do our picks for this week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck tomorrow, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, I had to pause there for a little bit. We had our producer talking to us from the booth here, giving us an update on last week's picks that nobody got to see.
Got rained out.
As it stands right now, I'm 4-1, I guess. 4-2, I'm sorry. I guess I was trying to give myself an extra break. 4-2, and then no, I guess I am right now. Okay, so
he's got voices in his head.
Be ready to be locked up after this. So I'm 4-1. Nathan and Jordan are each 3-2. We did get some breaking news for this week's picks, though. I guess Trimble and River Valley is canceled due to illness.
Trimble and River Valley, I can't talk. Is that right?
Yeah, Trimble and River Valley is canceled due to illness. So first matchup we're going to pick this week is Fairfield Union and Meigs. Guys, who you got?
Well, I think I'm going to go with Fairfield Union on that, boys.
Me too. I went with Fairfield.
I think that's unanimous across the board. I think Meigs just kind of had a rough week last week.
Charging Knights, you can't go against the Charging Knights.
Yeah, they might be a little bit outmatched. Next pick, and this was probably the toughest one for me, Vinton County Circleville.
I'd like to see Vinton County beat him, to be honest
My
with you.
heart wants to take Vinton County.
I'm going with Circleville.
Same with me. My heart wants to see VC win, but I wonder how they bounce back on the road up there in an environment they haven't played in yet. I know that they'll be prepared, but I haven't watched Circleville in film enough to kind of make it. But I want to go Circleville.
They did lose last week, but I'm taking Circleville as well.
Yeah, they're both, of course, 0-1 right now.
Well, and we just talked about their game from last week, Vinton County's game, and that just totally messed me up right now. But yeah, I mean, they wanted to win that game last week.
Right.
So they're going to come back this week with some vengeance, I think.
They open up at home in the new stadium, too. So that's another motivation for Circleville. So it's going to be a tough one for VC.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. Because I always like to root for TVC teams when they're not playing against Wellston. So it's just kind of like a Big Ten.
And it helps us later on in the year if we can get that win against them because they won all the other games.
Right.
So.
All right, next one, Newark Catholic, Nelsonville.
I don't know nothing about Newark Catholic. They're probably a bigger school, I'm guessing. But I'm going to go with Nelsonville.
Yeah, traditionally, Newark Catholic has always kind of owned that game, so I want to stick with the traditional win.
I had to do something different.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and I'm going to take Nelsonville, too. And I think just losing the way they did against Trimble, that one's going to bite, man. They've got some senior guys that are going to be absolutely angry.
They've got some things to prove this week.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If they're going to beat Newark Catholic, it's going to be this week because they need this win to get back on track. For themselves. So
they have a senior quarterback that I think in Mekhi Williams that'll will them to win.
It's Mekhi Williams. I cannot wait to see this kid play. This kid sounds like a heck of a player.
He's the real deal. So I'm going with Nelsonville. And then, of course, everybody's hometown pick here, Wellston, Fairland.
Definitely got to go with Wellston on that.
I'm a Rocket. Always be a Rocket.
Show up every day to win. You don't practice to lose. Prepare to win. Go out there and just face these guys and be better at what you do than what they are. And I say that over and over and over. But it's serious. We got some guys out there that are very athletic. We can match up with anybody. The one issue that we have is depth. If we got there and we stay healthy and we do the little things like they've been coached, we stay disciplined on defense. We don't get caught. We don't lose containment on last week had a couple times we lost containment on we had a quarterback sack, lost containment, big play happens. Those little things, and on offense, don't make the big penalties. Don't do the false starts, don't have the big personal fouls. If we do all the little things, we can keep ourselves in position to win this game.
Yeah, we got game tape to watch and improve on. I'm sure they looked at that, nipped all those mistakes in the bud, and these guys want to come out and give a better showing what they did last Friday. But they're playing a really good football team this Friday.
Right.
So I think we're going to be ready to go. I think we're going to give it our best effort to make it one heck of a football game tomorrow night.
Like I said a few minutes ago, I think we have probably the best DB in Southern Ohio. Kel, you look at his size and his length and how fast he is. I think he runs a 4.6 40, and what is he, 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
And as a DB, he can move, and he can cover. He's a ball hawk. Mike said last week. Last year he ended with 6 interceptions in 5 games, I think. Actually 4, maybe 4 games. And I don't know how many he had in preseason. So the guy knows how to go get the ball. And these receivers, they go 3 by 1, like Coach was saying. They'll go, they try to isolate and get everybody on. So I'd like to see Kel one-on-one out there. Yeah. Just see what he can do. Because I think if he steps up, there's not many receivers he can't shut down.
I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I'm going to be the villain, and I'll go Fairland here, and I'm saying this because I got to sit up here with Coach Graham next week, and he's probably going to be eyeballing me the whole time. but if nothing else,
I think you're right.
This is a message to the Rockets: prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Come out with your tails on fire. Win this game. I'm going Fairland just strictly based off depth and experience. A senior quarterback and a lot of weapons for Fairland could make things a little tiresome for not a very deep defense.
They're one injury away from being a different football team than what they're used to seeing too.
I will say this is probably Matt Petersen's last show, so thanks for the 2 weeks. I'm just joking.
I'm already getting the axe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hey,
fire. Okay.
Like I said, heart is always Wellston. Wish those guys nothing but the best of luck. But if we're like you said earlier, you want to win it